Caiti left. See, now I'm not the last one. I'm not the last one now.
Hey!
Yay!
We're good.
No, it's okay.
Gracias. Hi.
I'm Sam.
Katie.
We're going to do introductions up here and then just make you guys all miss out. So it's totally fine. Welcome. How's everyone's RTX going so far? Yes?
It's been excellent. Thank you for asking.
Yes,
It's been
good.
fun.
So we're going to be talking about something that's one of my favorite topics ever in the face of the planet, and that is how people play video games and do good things other than just beating the game. How many of you guys have either watched a charity stream, channel, or participated in one before? Okay, so all of you guys. How many of you guys have watched a Rooster Teeth charity? Everyone. Okay, great. So what we wanted to do in this panel was cover a few different of the things that we've learned, because a lot of the streams that people see make and generate, millions of dollars, but a lot of the money that charities raise come from really small streams. A stream that raises $100, if you have thousands of those, add up very quickly. You don't have to have a major production in order to raise money for a good cause by playing video games live. So we wanted to cover some of our best practices. But before we get into that, we should probably introduce ourselves in case you don't know. My name is Aurelian. My real name is Erin. I work for Twitch as the community manager, but I also started off this wonderful journey by being a content creator on both YouTube and Twitch.
Hi, I'm T-Rex, or Sam. I'm a partner broadcaster on Twitch, and I just got back from running an event called GuardianCon, and I am the assistant charity director of GuardianCon.
But which raised how much money?
$1.28 million.
Yeah.
It's 1.35 now? I was misinformed.
Excuse us. It was 1.35.
Is that because the e-checks cleared?
E-check, it's still processing. We have probably about 1,500 e-checks that haven't cleared.
Ooh.
1.5 million. Here
Soon,
we go.
TM. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yay.
My name is Katie. I am a voice actor and actor and a bunch of other things. I do Twitch streaming with my husband Jack, and I work with Rooster Teeth doing Extra Life, the 24-hour gaming marathon that I'm sure most of you know about.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm Katie's husband. And
Don't you forget it.
and I work for Rooster Teeth, obviously. And yeah, and we've been doing Twitch streams on our own personal stuff, and we also do obviously the Extra Life stream, which I was inspired by Caiti to do. So it's all her fault.
Oh.
She's
Damn,
not
those poor
sorry.
kids.
Yeah.
How long have we been doing Extra Life for? Is this our 5th year
I
coming?
think this is our 5th big year, quote unquote. Jeff and I,
So many injuries.
I work with at Achievement Hunter. The two of us ran it. Basically, the two of us did a 24-hour stream in our old office, in our like 2 offices ago, and we destroyed our backs doing a 24-hour stream. And we had a few people come in and help out, but for the most part,
You
it was
should
just
preface,
us.
sorry, not to interrupt you, but you destroyed your back. Like, going from the Extra Life streams that we have now to, like, doing flips and gymnastics, you hurt your back by just sitting.
Yeah.
Like,
Literally
you were
sitting and
just
playing video
sitting
games.
for 24 hours.
I literally had to get one of those like wedge pillows with a little hole cut
It
out.
wasn't
for
a
the claws.
donut?
No.
No, I'm disappointed now.
And I think we raised $20,000 during that stream, and we were like, "Holy crap! This is amazing that we can do this." And then we took the next year off, and then by the year after that, that was the first time we did it. Like we had a full broadcast portion of Rooster Teeth, and I was like, "Hey, I want to do this stream thing again." We did this Extra Life thing a couple of years ago. It was really fun, and we ended up raising I think $160,000, which at the time was like the biggest
Insane,
individual
yeah.
group ever. And then this past year, 4 years later from that, we raised $940,000 in 24 hours. So that's pretty badass. So it's awesome. And so this year we're aiming for $1 million. So hopefully we'll cross that. It'd be super kick-ass if we did. So.
I have like anxiety about that because it's like, what do you do at $1 million? Like, all of the stretch
backflip.
goals.
Oh.
A backflip.
Jack does a backflip.
Oh.
Jack does it because we've shaved his beard, we've tased someone, we had paintball. Like I don't know.
It's going to be painful.
Need to do like a Men in Rompers calendar. That's what you need.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
He just
we're
made
doing
you.
that.
That's a
It's
literal
not smart.
$1 million
okay.
idea.
That might be 2. No, I've said
That's a $2 million.
I've said already that. So I have Tetris pieces that I've been collecting from different places all over the planet. I have a gap right there. So as soon as we hit $1 million, hoping we hit $1 million, knock on wood, there's going to be a tattoo right there. It'll be my $1 million tattoo. that I'm going to get live on the air as soon as we hit that number. So
Nice.
it'd be
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. So anyway.
So, it's been interesting. You were talking about your first year doing charity streaming, and you raised like $20,000. You work with Extra Life, and I know St. Jude recently has, in the last 2 years, really started working with a lot of Twitch and YouTube content creators. Back in the day, I think Extra Life's first ever marathon was like $80,000, and last year alone, I think it was like $8 million, and that's only been in 5 years. So every year, people are doubling the amount that we're raising for charity. Last year alone, Twitch raised, it was over $16 million on charity for people, not Twitch it's as a company, but as the broadcasters on the platform. It was $16 million that broadcasters raised for charitable events using Twitch. And this year we've already far surpassed that. And I think we're set to hit, I think it's like 20 or 25 million this year. So it continues to grow and grow and grow. But part of that is because people really start getting dedicated towards specific causes on platforms. So when you guys started out and you were thinking like, okay, I'm going to do a charitable cause, was it because someone from a charity contacted you? Was it like, hey, we want to do something for good, now we have to find a charity to do that? Or like, how do you decide, when you're going to do a charity event, what charity you're going to do it for, and what does that process look like for you guys?
Sure. I don't mind answering first. This actually ties into how I started broadcasting. Was in 2013, maybe even a little bit before that, I randomly found Twitch for the first time, and I found a bunch of folks speedrunning, raising money for the Hurricane Sandy disaster, relief for folks like that. And my brother and I were just in a dinky apartment together, and we're like, man, that's really cool. And we just decided to start broadcasting, and we got into speedrunning. And then a year later, in January 2014, was myself, Professor Broman, iMisty, and Ubergoose did a 4-player cooperative run of Borderlands 2. And that was the first time that Awesome Games Done Quick broke $1 million for Prevent Cancer Foundation. And that just kind of was born out of seeing a community do something great with video games. Because, I grew up with video games and playing alongside my brother for so long that, seeing people do that while also, raising money for these amazing causes, I just wanted to be a part of it, And now I'm helping run my own, 4 years later, question mark. So that's kind of how I got started, at least.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think with Extra Life specifically, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was just that it was so accessible, being a video game kind of centric charity, or like, not charity, but what do you call it? Like, it's a part of Children's Miracle Network, but it's this, oh my God, activity?
Like a division of
yeah,
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's video game centric. It's, I think we really responded well to it because we don't like the stigma of like gamers are just like dungeon dwelling gremlins who society, like, are leeches on society. We're like, no, that's not true at all. And so we thought that Extra Life was great for the charitable aspect of it, but also to show that people who play video games are really wonderful people usually who want to help and contribute, and it's something that we are all already doing. So why not just apply that to charity and do? Yeah, I feel like that was kind of our thought process for it.
Yeah, and that's basically it. It was, we're already playing video games.
Yeah.
let's do it on a stream and raise money for an amazing cause. And so, and a big part of it is getting away from the stigma of like, oh, this video gamers are people with Cheeto dust on their fingers, and they only care about themselves, and maybe better KD. So it's like, all right, let's fight that. And now we're raising millions of dollars for Extra Life and St. Jude's, and like, Guardian Con. Was this, how many years have we done Guardian Con?
This is our third year of having the event proper, but this is the second year of having the charity marathon.
Yeah, so 2 years already over $1 million. That's incredible, and like that kind of stuff, you can't dismiss that. And so when you see like the public talking about it, it's like, oh no, we raised almost. I mean, we might raise $1 million in 24 hours. Like, not many people do that for any charity, and let alone video gamers. And it's like,
yeah, not the way that we do, like bringing people together.
Yeah.
And like Erin was saying, it's the smaller donations put together that make that big number, and it makes a difference. Everybody pitching in a little bit adds to something huge. So
yeah. Or even contributing, like streaming on your own, raising $100. Like if you raise $100, your friend does. I mean, that starts adding up super fast.
There's a statistic, and I don't know if I can say the charity or what it means. But there was a statistic I was told once that somebody who raises like $25 or $35 goes on the second year to raise even more, and the amount of exposure that they give, then they have those like so many X people from that one person will then start to raise money on their own. So even as someone donating $25, right, and even if you don't have the $25 to give, maybe someone you know has 5 and someone else has 1. We all know probably, we may not like 20 people, but we probably know 20 people, and they could all give $1, and then you've hit that goal, and then the next year it becomes more because someone said, oh, I gave $1 last year, I'll give 2 this year.
Yeah.
And so the amount at which those rates grow really do have a significant impact on charities.
And not only that, but one thing that we push is like, we have a lot of fans that are young that maybe don't have access to a credit card, or they can't make a donation. We always say, if you can't make a donation, just tweet about it.
Yeah.
Like literally just tweet, or like, hey, at The Rock, there's this thing going on right now, and maybe we can get a retweet for it. I mean, like that kind of stuff is like, that requires no money aside from your data plan on your cell phone. And if you can get just spreading it that way, that's amazing. And like, we've gotten so much really, really great exposure because of that, just because of fans have reached out and actually talked to some big name celebrities who then retweeted it, and God knows how many people watched it. Like someone tagged Notch, and then Notch donated $40,000 last year to our Extra Life stream. It's like,
That's awesome.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty
And
awesome.
the year before, he donated 15.
Yeah.
So he's doubling it, right? Like you
Right.
said. So this year coming.
So Adam,
it's gonna
this
be-
year, and if it's under 80, y'all are failing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That statistic
Just
is
kidding.
wrong. No.
Right. So kind of going back to the first part of that question, though, I know for me, I am this year going to attempt a 2-day marathon where I help 6 different charities, because like I now am like to the point where like I feel so bad that there's like sick puppies, and also the ocean is dying, but also there's sick kids, but then also there's like wounded vets. Like I don't know what to give to, so I'm just gonna do them all. But how do you choose that, right? I know that I can speak personally, and I've been to an Extra Life United where like you get to meet all the sick kids, and like having a kid that is like going through leukemia or going through like chemo treatments come up and hug you and say thank you for raising money because I don't feel good is like the number one thing that makes you cry, and just be like, I will give you money all the time. But aside from that, what does that look? There's so many charities out there. Where do you even start to pick which one you think either you're personally drawn to, or more importantly, your fans are drawn to?
Well, I know that, at least when I first started getting into charity and streaming in general, the reason why PCF was so important to me was my father survived cancer due to early detection and via grants that were raised by PCF. So I was all on board with that. But with St. Jude, no, it was pretty much just like that. My brother and a couple other folks kind of were trying to hammer down who we wanted to support. You know, they'd already experienced that exact moment of going, maybe raising a smaller amount and then going this the St. Jude Play Live Summit, right?
Yep.
And then seeing those kids out there and then hearing their stories and then not having your heart broken into a million pieces. Why wouldn't you want to support that? So I would say if I had to give advice over who you should support, it's something that you should absolutely feel drawn to via maybe because you experienced it yourself, or maybe you heard a story that you just grabbed onto. But that'll drive you really far if you have something behind it.
Yeah, definitely. I went back to school this summer, and my college success professor is actually here. And we're learning. Thank you. We're learning about values and morals and sort of the things that drive you to make decisions in your life, like good, positive decisions or negative decisions. And so I think it's definitely the values and the morals that you have. Like for me, in my personal life, I do a lot of mental health stuff and mental health awareness. And women's health services and stuff like that. But I think with how we chose Dell Children's for Extra Life was that it's so close to the Rooster Teeth office. So we were able to go there and visit, and it's like you said, you meet the kids and you kind of get sucked in, and you're like, oh, this is, you can see tangibly where it's going and that it's making a real difference. And they talk about even the diapers, like, a couple of dollars buys these diapers for this, like, baby in the neonatal unit, and it's like, oh, okay, and it's tangible, it's physical. So I think that was kind of what made this for Extra Life, Dell Children's our hospital.
Yeah. I mean, we've been working with Extra Life for a long time now, and the one thing we do love about Extra Life is you can donate to specific hospitals. So you can donate to one. So we have literally Dell Children's is 3 blocks away from our office. Like you can like stand at the front door and see our buildings from Dell Children's. And like Caiti was saying, it's like, yeah, it's like we did Extra Life United as well. And like hearing kids come up and be like, oh my gosh, it's like you pretty much forget everything bad with your life and go like, oh my God, this kid is here, busting their ass and like fighting for survival. And we're playing video games to help them. Yeah, I've got to do that forever now. And so, but being able to help out specifically local hospitals, I mean, that to us is amazing because like Dell Children's, like it's great because they've been working with us now. Like we actually, Megan's over there. I'm going to call her out. So Megan is with Dell Children's right there.
Megan!
And so, yeah, she's awesome.
No, for real, seriously. Yeah. She is an angel.
And so they've been working with us now about specific things like, hey, we know your fans might experience this kind of stuff. Maybe like if you want to help us fund this. And so this past year, they've been working on a new mental health unit, a whole brand new wing of the hospital, or retrofitting an older wing. And they were like, do you guys want to support this? And we've been huge proponents of like...
Yes.
So pretty much like Caiti lost her mind for it. It's like, all right. And
like, we also have cardio. So I'm like, no. So go back to that one. I want that one.
It's been fantastic. And so, but because of our donations, like we're like, if I'm not mistaken, you guys got to start working on it quicker due to our donation. Yeah. That's awesome. So it's going to open next year.
For anyone online, she just said that because they helped, they're going to break ground and they're expected to do their first patients in that wing next year. For anyone online, also hi Twitch. There you go.
Thank you. I forgot
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Streaming.
But yeah, and so like we have some other pretty awesome news we'll announce very soon. I hate doing teases of a tease, but we didn't get the final okay. So we have some really, really badass news that we're working with Dell Children's on, and we will talk about that very soon. I promise you. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for us, like having that local aspect to it. We are working with other charities. We worked with Stack Up, and we worked with Operation Supply Drop, which are veteran charities as well. We love those guys. We just finished working with Game Changer, which is another children's charity. We had an Omaze contest, which is Omaze.
You guys have the Rooster Teeth community shirt that does for local grassroots things as well.
Yeah.
Right?
So if you have a Rooster Teeth community shirt, like the RT, the one with Texas on it, or the Seattle one, Chicago one, we worked with local charities in each of those cities to make a donation to a local charity. So the one for Austin, for example, gives to Austin Pets Alive, which is a local no-kill shelter here in Austin. And so
that's where my cat came from.
Yeah. Our dog came from there.
Yeah.
So I mean, and we've been doing more stuff like that, trying to spread the love around a little bit. And so we have a lot of people who want to give, and it's a good problem to have, And so
I think that's so much of what we do. And I know we're up here on the panel talking about this, but really we're just facilitators for what you give. And I feel like we can't stress that enough. It's really you just like want to give good and help and love, and we're like, okay, we'll take it and we'll put it over here, and that's like we couldn't do that without you.
Pretty much any attention I know of me personally, any attention I receive, I try to deflect it to something more, like something better than myself. It's like, oh, you like this?
Like
no,
me.
Yeah. Okay. It's like, you're into what I'm in. I'm into raising money for this group, so you should help out with that group. Just kind of like, move it over here into this box. And so that's my philosophy behind it.
So going kind of back on that, it's really interesting. I have worked with at Twitch as the community manager. I get a lot of requests in from charities that say like, hey, we really want to work with broadcasters. We really want to raise money on Twitch. And there's a lot of like do's and don'ts for charities specifically that we can do. And one of the biggest things that I try to stress to them is you shouldn't just reach out to a broadcaster and say, hey, will you raise money for my charity? Because a large part of it is being able to speak passionately about the topic. Yeah. And so do you guys personally feel that even if a charity comes to you and it's like, not something that you're into, have you seen that really affect the amount of money that you're able to raise? Or have you seen like anecdotal evidence that people are like, I'm going to raise money for this thing, but I don't really care about it, go raise some money? Like, it doesn't work that way.
I think having a community that's so broad, if ever that was to happen, I think I would be able to work it I'm sure that in the community someone is experiencing this, or we have veterans or something like that. So I guess I would maybe think of it like that, but I see what you're saying. Like make little sweaters for penguins in the Arctic, or
Right.
why would you make sweaters for penguins in the Arctic? It's not important.
cold.
Anyway,
Duh.
but, you know, like
I was gonna say global warming. I was like, wait a minute, they definitely wouldn't need sweaters.
yeah,
then.
I don't know. I swear I've seen
tank
pictures of
tops then,
penguins
okay?
with sweaters. I don't know.
Little speedos, penguins.
I don't know what it was. Maybe it was wallabies. They're two different animals. It's not important.
I
but
definitely,
yeah,
you would know what a wallaby was more than I would. I
they're
don't.
definitely different.
Rocco's
What are we
wait,
talking
wasn't Rocco's Modern Life? Wasn't he a wallaby?
Yes, he was a wallaby.
Nailed
Yeah,
it.
Rocco was a wallaby.
Thank you, Nickelodeon.
Yeah, right. But anyway, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, I probably wouldn't get as behind something like that
Right.
as I would, you know, the children's hospital and mental health stuff. So, I don't know if I answered your question. I'm
You
sorry.
nailed it.
Okay.
You can drop the mic.
No.
Killed it.
I won't, but-
So, after you've got the charity figured out, and after you've like made that first step of like, okay, I know that I'm gonna raise money, and I know I'm gonna raise it for this specific cause. What is next? Like, there's so many things I feel like for someone who's never done this before, like it's a lot more complex than just being like, I'm gonna play a game for 24 hours. Like, that's not going to work. So how do you plan? How do you come up with the ideas of like what works, what doesn't? Is it trial and error? Did you watch other streams? Like, how did you figure out what was going to work for your events?
One thing that we always, I've encouraged this for people who just want to stream even, you know, if you ever want to learn how to do something, watching someone else do it first is always a great stepping stone. So if you've watched the Rooster Teeth charity stuff, anything with Guardian Con or the Games Done Quick stuff happening right now, you know, you can analyze, oh man, this really worked well, or you can see, I know this didn't really work as well as maybe they'd hoped. And you can kind of cherry pick what you like, what you don't like, and then take your own spin on it and make it something truly original to you. With GuardianCon, working with people all across the U.S. and even internationally to raise money for St. Jude. So sitting down, this was a nightmare, because it's like herding cats with broadcasters, because there's like 40.
Tell me more about that.
I'm sure you have no idea what that's like. But you know, with everyone on different schedules, trying to sit down, figure out, all right, so your block is from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. What are you thinking about doing during that block? What game you want to play? Do you have incentives? Are you going to dress like something crazy, like put on a dinosaur suit and then put on a suit on top of that dinosaur suit and then mispronounce the CEO of Bungie's name and then he changes his Twitter profile? Stuff like that.
It's very specific.
You want it's if it happened to be weird. Stuff like that. You know, being prepared to more or less throw shame to the wind for the sake of charity is a good thing too. Because honestly, there's nothing shameful about raising money for sick children, for cancer patients.
As long as it doesn't break terms of service. Don't get naked online.
There you go.
Please don't do that.
There you go. But
Or twerk. Don't do that either.
Just not on that website.
But I guess like, you know, to round back is it's a very complicated process to figure out what you want to do, and there's no right or I guess there's a handful of wrong ways, but you know there's a lot of things you can analyze and do yourself. The way we run ours is no way near the way they run theirs.
It sounds very similar,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
like
Very similar.
maybe it is, but I guess is it more in-house for you though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But we do have people outside. But you're talking about blocking off the
Sure,
time.
and trying to figure out exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So
Mhm,
I
'cause
guess
you want to keep people engaged during those times.
So there's
Yeah.
a lot of like understanding the demographics you're reaching, understanding the scheduling that you're going to have to tackle, stuff like that. So the short version is if you want to do it and do it amazingly, it is a lot of work. But I can safely tell you, it is some of the most rewarding work that you can do. I didn't get much sleep from the start of our marathon to the end of it because I was doing overnights and also moving at the same time. And although, you know, I was getting barely any sleep, I never once felt like I was doing the wrong thing, if that makes sense. So if you have that kind of passion for whatever charity you're doing, I'm very, very confident that you are going to do an amazing job. I'll stop talking.
No, well, I mean,
You did
I
great.
think you did. You didn't take my water.
right.
I think it also has a lot to do with resources. So we are lucky enough to have a great deal of resources, which goes from our social media accounts to which is our outreach. To having a bunch of talent, to having the broadcasts, like the studio, and being able to do that stuff, getting prizes in and whatnot. But thinking about it on a more personal level, like as an individual, I think just like taking stock of your resources and figuring out, okay, I have if it's streaming specifically, I have a webcam that has a microphone on it, okay, you know, I know that people get off, like you're talking about time and demographic, I know people usually get off at about 6, so maybe I'll do it 6 till, 2 a.m. or break it up or whatnot, but just kind of like deciding what you can do as an individual and not overstretching yourself. Because have you ever heard that like a movie can be really well produced and amazing, but if the story isn't good, people aren't invested in it. But a movie can be terrible and have terrible graphics and stuff, but if the story is really great, people are invested in it. I think that applies to it. If you're passionate, and it doesn't matter if you have like a crappy webcam or as long as people can hear you and they can see you, and see that you're playing games and having fun and are passionate and excited about what you're doing, I think that's what's going to drive people to donate and to respond to you, you know. And Jeremy from Extra Life has told us that they see a spike in donations when we stop everything we're doing and we do our spiel and talk about why it is that we're raising money and what we're raising money for, where it goes to, and how like this is the greatest community ever and this is amazing, everything's so great. And then the donations go up because that's the time that we're connecting. That's the time that you're seeing how genuinely passionate we are about what we're doing. So I think just even starting on a small level, just a computer and a webcam, just having that kind of passion to drive it, and just posting on Facebook and Twitter and just letting people know this is what I'm doing, you know, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I like kind of bouncing around a few topics, like what you're saying as far as like blocking out, like like wrangling cats, basically. That's basically, I mean, Rooster Teeth. We're fortunate to have like 100-something personalities across all of our content now. But literally, it's like, okay, I have X number of blocks. I've got 24 hours I need to fill, or 25, depending on if it's going to be, you know, whatever the.
Which it almost always is.
Yeah, it always falls. And then it's pretty much like, all right, I know there's a couple groups I want to keep together, and then I have like a bunch of open slots, and I'm like, hey, just throw it out to the company. Who wants to do stuff? And then I get something back where it's like, Screw Attack wants to do Japanese game show. It's like, I don't know what that is, but sure, you're in. It's like Erin and Chris want to do Bob Ross. What? Sure, okay. And like, you just kind of, I mean, you have to trust these people because when it comes down to it, like everyone knows what you're doing. You're raising money for kids. Like Michael's gonna get himself tased. Sure, why not? Okay.
I'll organize a medic.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we're in a very unique, fortunate situation that we do have all of that. You know, we basically are built for something like this. We are very, very fortunate that it works out for us. On the flip side of that, this year we did something new. Did you guys watch the community stream we did, the actual week of Extra Life this year, which was a new thing we were doing because Brandon had to go get married the week of Extra Life.
He had to.
So
everyone went to Mexico.
Yeah. So half the company was at a wedding, and we're like, well, okay, we're not going to throw Extra Life with missing half the company. So we pushed it a week, and during our Extra Life stream, we did a community stream where we gave 25 teams from all over the planet an hour block to basically raise money for their specific Extra Life charities. And we literally threw it from Nebraska to Ontario to Vancouver to Australia
Sydney
to
Perth,
to London. And we were all over the planet, and it was great. And watching the different groups go from literally some guys, just like one guy did, it was just a gameplay screen. You didn't have a webcam, but it was just him talking while playing a game. To like Vermont dressed up like the Super Troopers,
they
and
were
like
amazing.
we're downing maple
I don't know
shots.
if you saw
There we go. There's one of our Super Troopers back there.
Yeah, amazing.
That's
Vermont
amazing.
was so good.
And it was awesome. And it's like seeing the different groups do different things and do different ways. It was awesome. And even like another one weird point I want to point out is, as far as scheduling goes, for us, we have to think, hey, Australia's waking up during this time. We need to plan stuff for Australia. Hey, London is waking up during this time, or Europe's waking up during this time.
Having like overnight blocks, for example, have folks from like the UK or people who that's already their wheelhouse.
Exactly.
Scheduling is like an incredibly important thing if you're doing a very long event for lots and lots of different reasons.
Yeah. So there's odd things that you never think about. Then it's like, oh wait, yeah, it's noon right now in you know, Berlin. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess we got to plan for them. But it was like, anyway, so interesting stuff. Extra Life is showing me a whole world of new problems I didn't know.
It's great.
Fantastic problems, I should say.
The best problems.
I would jump on what you were saying about there's no shame in raising money, like to be silly. And one improv piece of advice is just commit. Like if you're doing something and you think it's silly, like I have a friend who's doing Tough Mudder, which is in Australia. I don't know what it's called here.
They have them here, Tough Mudder.
It's called Tough Mudder? Yeah, so he's doing that, and he's cosplaying. So like every kilometer or something, he quickly changes cosplay outfit and then does the rest of the run. And he's doing that for charity.
That's awesome.
But he's, you know, he has to commit to that. Like he's got to be like, no, I don't want to feel like embarrassed about wearing this. No, because it's only going to be successful if you put, if you 100% put that dress on and get in that mud, So we're talking about the dinosaur outfit and doing that stuff. Like if you want to do a gag and it's safe and not going to hurt anybody, then do it. Like do like Vermont did, dressing up as Super Troopers. Like that was amazing and we loved it and it was refreshing. Like doing something different like that. So yeah, just commit to whatever it is that you want to do.
Something you touched on a little bit ago about, reminding people and having that connection of why you're doing what you're doing and reminding them. I think that has power of itself as well. Letting people know that a big thing we were trying to push this year was that for $20, you could run St. Jude for a second. And that 1 second can mean the difference of like life and death for a child. Stuff like that. And breaking it down to where people are like, that's not a lot of money. I can afford to give 20. I can give up Starbucks for like a couple of weeks. But it hammers home the point that every dollar counts. On the flip side, there's no shame in giving $1. Like a lot of people.
No one's gonna be mad at you for donating $1.
Like we would see it all the
You're
time.
so terrible for donating
in the messages,
$1.
they're like, "I'm sorry, I can't give more." Don't be. You are doing an amazing thing by giving anything at all because you get nothing in return aside from maybe me reading it and then me flubbing your name or something, and everyone laughs. Like, "Oh, great! Was that really worth $50?" Like. Stuff like that. So we are not the rock stars in those situations. It's always the people who are giving.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I think that's one of the best things about the internet, to be quite honest. It is amazing that you can have 25 different groups and 25, different places of the world work together for one cause and something like that. And that's why we're so fortunate to be able to do our week-long crazy stream is because we have so many dedicated broadcasters who want to help out. And then the best part is we have these equally amazing people who want to give. It is like the restoring faith in humanity part of the internet, all in one space. So you can't feel anything but joy about it,
Yeah, no, for real.
One of the things that I want to talk about too is that you Katie had specifically mentioned, like even if you have just a webcam, there are things that you can do obviously which are like for $3,000 so and so is going to get tased or whatever. But even if you don't have the ability to do that, I think looking at ways to incentivize people to donate can be really, really huge, and looking at unique ways to do that. So I know that my daughter wanted to raise money for an animal shelter, and I was like, well, I can't tase a 7-year-old.
Can't you?
You shouldn't tase a 7-year-old.
So I could have let her tase me, but I probably would have died. So what could we do? So I was like, well, I have this white hoodie and she has terrible handwriting. It'd be really funny to let her write all over this hoodie. So for like $10, I was like, hey, if you donate $10, I'll let her write your name on my hoodie. And that's what we did. And we raised $5,000, like most of it through names on a hoodie. And like that required a hoodie and a shirt. Like that's it, right? And one of the other ones that we did is I work with a group called Mindcrack, and we do a 48-hour stream for Extra Life. We all play Minecraft. And so we were like, how can we get people to donate? What's like a way for us to be able to incentivize people to do that? And so we had a friend of ours, and this goes back to the resources, code a thing that would read the API for donations from Extra Life, and it would send you an email and would say, you donated X amount of dollars. What would you like to give us during a UHC? So you could basically like have them, you could like stack somebody to win the game, and even $1 would give sticks or coal or something in the game, or all the way up to $1,000, which would give someone like a golden apple and a potion, which would make them like invisible for 10 seconds. And there were like 10 people who donated $1,000 to give someone an apple. And one of the funniest parts of the stream was the guy fed it to a horse on accident, and he like was so upset he cried on stream. He was like, I didn't mean to waste your $1,000. I'm so sorry. Oh, pause. So yeah, there are definitely ways that you can look at what you're doing, and within that, do you have the passion? Do you have the resources? Do you have the people? But then, do you have ways to incentivize people to donate other than just the emotional? Are there ways you can tie in your game? Can you build something into a game? Can you write a name on a shirt? Can you do something that will say, like, I know that my $1 not only gives me something, or is it a poster? For $5 you get a poster, or I'll send anyone who donates $25. Sorry about it. If I donate $25, I have said before, if someone donates, I have a heart fundraiser right now. One of the guys in my stream just is going through a rejection on his heart transplant. And so we set up a donation page, not for him, but just for like the American Heart Association. I said, anyone who donates $25, I'll send you a pin and a signed postcard, and I'll handle all the shipping myself. And so like that's just a way that like I know that I can give back to that. Do you have any advice for people who are going into a stream for the first time that you would want to tell them? Like, I would say don't do a 24-hour stream or very first time ever doing it. That would be mine. But do you guys have advice that you would give people, like do a small one before you do a larger one? What would you say?
Well, I think that's a big thing too. Is don't try to before you can run, you got to walk first, right? So don't try to hit the ground running when you've literally just been born. You're like, yeah, now I'm Usain Bolt, let's go. Like, just calm down. And that's a huge thing, because I know there's a lot of people who've talked to me, some folks we've had on for our Guardian Con charity marathon, where they felt like, one, they didn't belong there because they feel like they failed in a previous charity stream. They didn't raise enough for what their goal was and stuff like that, because they felt like they set it too high. One, they shouldn't feel that way, period, because you raise money for charity. That's how I feel about it. But I at least understand the concept of always wanting to do your best. So try your best to have, what you feel to be attainable goals, and that goes back to knowing your demographic, knowing what your outreach is, and then having great incentives is an amazing thing too. The power of that I realized for the first time really heavily was during I think it was Awesome Games Done Quick this year, where they had the Bandai Namco bundle for, I think, $125. You were entered into the raffle for this. But it was a whole bunch of stuff you could not buy. And they just kept putting it on a table. And it was like, by the time it was like the size of, I would say, 1.5 of these tables full of free, like, Dark Souls stuff, or like some anime stuff and God Eater and all this kind of stuff. And then the donations were flying in, all these 125s on the tracker. So, having things that are exclusive to your audience, like for me with, I play Destiny, people love to see you lose things you love. That is their favorite thing. So for me, I'm a big fusion rifle kind of guy. I like my Saladin's Vigil. I've killed many a Guardian with my Saladin's Vigil. That went away for $30,000, and I want to cry. And I've had friends of mine who got rid of their favorite exotic weapon, and they're like, I will never use this again. Even if it drops, I will shard it immediately. All that kind of stuff. So knowing something special with you and your community and turning that into a fun way to raise money for charity is great as well. So start small, have some fun things that you and your community can do together. It's even great to work with others. That's exclusively what we do. There's no way I could do this by myself. I would go insane. We have people like Alex in the front, OmniWaffle, who more or less ran the floor of the Guardian Con last week with Kevin, and that was amazing. But without this work of all these people, we couldn't do all these amazing things. And I'm sure you all feel the same way about that.
Yeah, you're talking about losing things you love. It's like I shaved my beard off, which that was the whole thing.
Ultimate thing.
Sort of jumping on the back of what you were saying, like obtainable goals is a big thing. So
It's like a New Year's resolution.
yeah, but like everyone wants to raise $10 billion for charity. Don't set your goal at $10 billion, because if you fall short, you do kind of feel bad. I mean, honestly, there's an Extra Life like total kind of like gauge every year. I always set it to less than we made the year prior. So like this year, I'll probably set it to like $750,000, even though we raised $900,000 last year. Because like I know, like watching that thing grow and then hitting it and exceeding it, that to me is more fun than like maybe hitting something. I'd rather go past it. And it's also we're all gamers, so we like challenging each other. We like trying to like reach goals and stuff. It's like, okay, let's give ourselves some missions and some goals. And like you're saying, like okay, like I'll do this if you raise $1,000. Like if it's your first stream, lower that down, make it like $20, something, just get more things in and make things that, you can maybe get lots of, and you can just shard all of your exotics and, whatever you want to do. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do without, really killing yourself for. And
exactly.
Like you're saying, starting slow, starting small, like learn to walk before you can run. I mean, we did, the first one we did, we hurt ourselves a lot, and that's why we took the next year off. And now we've broken into like 2-hour blocks where
now we have insurance. It's great.
Exactly. We have a medic on staff, so it's great. But
you talked about we've been talking about incentivizing things. Again, we're from companies that have a lot of resources with other gaming companies and just internally. But like Erin was saying, just having the white hoodie and a marker, like that's something everyone can do. having like a corkboard behind you, and every time somebody donates, writing their name on a piece of paper and putting it on the corkboard, and slowly the corkboard fills up, something like that. I don't know if that one counts. I just came up with that. But anyway.
Did not steal.
It already happens on Twitch. It's fine.
Oh, cool.
There you go.
Sorry, it wasn't an original idea. Sorry, whoever I stole it from. But yeah, just doing something that you have at home or that are in your resources, like we've been talking about. I know, sitting up here, we can talk about doing like $1 million goal, but really it's establishing what you can do, because there's nothing, like you said, that it feels really sad to go, I wanted to raise $1,000, but I only got $500. It's like $500 is so much money.
It's more than it's like in the top % of people who like fundraise for most organizations. I think for St. Jude and Extra Life, it's similar. Like the average donation is like $15 to $25. So like if you've beat the $15 to $25, you've beat like the nationwide average of what people are able to donate. And that's like a big accomplishment. Donating, getting people to raise $30. Like, could you walk down the street and get like random people to give you $30? Probably not. Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's an accomplishment. So not selling yourself short and setting yourself up for success is really, really important, because that's what's going to make you do it the next year and then the year after that. And people are going to trust you, and doing it regularly, especially if that's something that you're able to do like every year or 6 months, or depending on whatever it is that you're doing, people will remember that you're doing that, and then again donate more, because they trust you and they know, oh, it's going to this. Another thing, just really quickly, I don't know if it's related, but letting people know what their stuff is going to is really really helpful. So saying, I'm raising money for Dell Children's Hospital, that's like wonderful, and people know Children's Hospital, okay, sick kids, I get it. But saying where it's going towards the refurbishment of the mental health wing, going to this simulation dolls that help doctors learn how to work with children who don't want to be touched, really. Like, kids don't want to be poked with needles, so they're being confronted with these real situations, and we were able to raise money for that, and then take pictures of it and film it and show people later on, this is what your money went towards. So even just saying, like, according to the website, the hospital says that $20 goes towards nappies or diapers, and $50 goes towards IV bags or things like that. Just people knowing and seeing in their head what their money will go towards, I think is really beneficial.
Yeah. Having that tangible thing, like literally for us, we filmed outside what it will become the mental health unit, and it's like, that's it right there. Like, literally your money is going to fund that right there. Like, that's, if you have the ability to do that, that is fantastic.
Yeah, I think it also helps to, there are great websites out there that will allow you to reference back to your audience. I know there's a lot of like skepticism from people being like, yeah, but is that going to go to like fund somebody's salary? And there are websites that can help you inform your audience, where of every dollar, some like really good charities are anywhere from, I think it's like 85 cents and higher. Every 85 cents goes directly to the cause. So if you're donating to like Extra Life, if it's 85 cents goes to diapers or treatments or whatever, and only the 15% go to like administrative fees. I don't know if that's their specific one, but you can go to like Charity Navigator, and they can help make sure that when you're picking a charity and you're informing your audiences that it's a legitimate thing. X% of your dollar is going directly to help the cause and not towards administrative fees.
Yeah. And since we talked a little bit about that's the charity best practice, choosing a charity, I would highly recommend setting up some form or way you can choose to make sure you never touch that money. That way there is 0% doubt that it ever went to the charity.
It's not going to your personal PayPal.
Yeah,
it's going directly to a...
That is a mess I never want to be caught up in, ever. And in that way, there's, they have proof of receipt. They can do their taxes and say, I gave, $100 to Extra Life or St. Jude. Take your pick. That's a very small tidbit, but I think a very important one. That way you don't, I got $1,000. I'm gonna give $999, then go buy a soda.
There's a lot of like a website called Tiltify, which can help you. Extra Life does that for you. They allow you to like set up a page directly through Extra Life. A lot of nonprofits allow you to set up pages that you never have to be responsible for that money, and it removes a lot of the legality behind it. They can report it to their taxes. Even like I think Extra Life has like Canadian and U.S. It allows people to deduct it on their taxes. That's a really good point to be able to do that. And along that, I know that if you use, I think, St. Jude, I think Extra Life is building it in, and I know Tiltify will allow you to tie it into your Twitch broadcast, where when someone donates, an alert automatically comes up on the screen and thanks them for you. So even if you're playing a game, you don't have to say thank you. Like an alert pops up and says, and it'll actually tell you like, oh, this person donated, thank you. It'll play a sound. It gives them acknowledgement, which is another incentive for people to be able to donate. But along that line, when we're talking about like the legality of it, is there anything that you guys have run into in the past or advice that you would have for people to like, I know a big thing is you can't or you shouldn't advise your local tax and lawyers and whatever. You can't say anyone who donates $1 has a chance to be entered into this thing because then it's technically a raffle, which can get you in. Like there are legal things you have. Just because it's for charity doesn't always mean that it's a good idea. You have to make sure that you're following local laws and regulations. So you can't run a raffle. It will get you in trouble. Do you have any advice for people about looking for things like that or things that you've personally seen that could land them in hot water even though they're doing something for good?
Dealing with international folks can always be tricky. Let's say you do have a prize for, let's say, top donator gets, for us, it's props from the game, Destiny. So we have, Hawk Moons and stuff like that we got to move to people, right? Last year, I gave one away for my top donator, who also happened to be a friend of mine named Jason, who lived in Canada. That took about 8 months. To finally get that to him because of regulations, because it looks like a gun. Are you shipping a real gun? Even it's like, it's wood. No. But because it looks like that, it's a problem. And then you have to deal with an import, and then same thing where it's like, sometimes if you have someone who maybe lives in Finland who wins something, do they have a local law where it's like you cannot win something internationally above a value of X dollars? Like there's all these really weird things. So if you do happen to give away something that's really valuable, make sure to be aware that potentially the person who wins it, there could be a circumstance that they may not be able to receive it, and that is a bummer. I don't believe we've ran into that situation yet.
But if you want to say,
know.
if you just, a lot of times there's a lot of people I've run into that where like you say, I'm sorry, this is for U.S. only, and people get really upset,
Yeah,
and it's
be
not because
upfront.
we don't like international people, it's literally because the U.S. is like, oh hell no, you can't ship that anywhere. And then we're just stuck, and then you donated, then you didn't get your prize, and then you're disappointed, and then we feel bad, and it sucks.
Spirals out of
It's just
control.
it spirals out of control, and then I cry, and then it's bad. So yeah, that's definitely something that you should look for.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully for us, we haven't had to deal with it too much because we have a legal department at Rooster Teeth.
Nice.
So we have a legal department. Talk
Get
to
on it,
them.
Alex. Legal department.
Yeah, super easy. Just have some lawyers on retainer.
Oh yeah, super cheap.
Yeah, no. So I mean, we always work with them. I mean, and also the majority of stuff that we do, like give away, is all like typically it's like paintings and things. So like we don't do a lot of weapons.
Things no one really wants. Let's be real.
It's like we found this trash. All right, so we'll give it this thing
It's
away.
a used Cheeto wrapper. Yeah. There you go.
Nobody touched
People
it,
would
though.
want it, I swear.
Yeah, we gave away a back of a chair autographed by everyone for like $5,000
We gave
for
away
like 1 year.
a painting that was assaulted by a sausage.
Yeah. So yeah.
I would say, in terms of streaming specifically, copywritten music or copyrighted. I don't know what the
For
correct term
karaoke, a
is.
lot of people will do karaoke, and
Yeah.
you can get DMCA'd for
Right.
copyrighted music. Yeah.
So even Just Dance, things like that, making sure that you're even people just sometimes playing their stereo in the background for their own personal benefit, can get captured, and sometimes that can be that can negatively impact you, and that the stream could get shut down, or if you try to upload it later, it just won't work, or whatnot. So I guess that's kind of my only thing is just to be wary of the music that you use.
So when you're working on these organizations, we've kind of spoken about how we've talked to St. Jude and we've talked to Extra Life before, but there have been plenty of times where I did a charity stream for the Christina Applegate Foundation for supporting women who need like mammograms and can't afford them. And I didn't talk to the charity at all. And then afterwards, they followed me on Twitter and were like, hey, we saw this thing that you did. And I had wished that I had reached out to them ahead of time. Do you guys have advice, or do you think it's necessary to get the charity involved? If so, what help does that give to you? What would your advice be on that?
It all depends on the scale. I think is a huge thing. You can start when you're starting small. There's a lot of trying to focus on what you can do and you alone is very important, I feel. So that way you kind of get an understanding of what your reach is, all the things you can do by yourself. You know your limitations. Mm-hmm. And then, if you do really well, or you have a situation where they follow you and you can start talking to them, then they can hopefully start supporting you as well in regards to running the event. We thankfully have a lot of help from St. Jude running a lot of our stuff, and reaching out with vendors who are like, hey, we're good friends with you, so do you want a couple headsets to give away and stuff like that. So reaching out, I don't believe ever could really hurt as long as you're doing it in a very proper way and not being like, hey, I raised $200 for your charity, so like, can I get that follow back? Like, can we just do that? Like, try to be professional about it. And then you never know. Maybe eventually you'll be able to do a whole lot more, potentially with even less staff or support because they're helping you out and offloading some of that stuff that you were doing onto them so they can help you out. So I would very much say that they can definitely do a lot for you.
Yeah, we encountered that. We do a K1 go-karting event, bless you, go-karting event on the Thursday before RTX, and this year it was mostly Jack, kind of organizes it by himself or us alone. And it never occurred to us that if we just reached out to the charity that they would be able to help us and hook us up with like great prizes and whatnot, because we're just so used to just like, no, we'll do it. Like, we don't want to trouble anybody, or like, we just want to do it and just like give you the money. But it never occurred to us that if we just asked the question that they might be able to, you know, help us, and they helped us immensely. So thank you again for that. I really appreciate it. You're a lifesaver. But I would say that we get on Twitter a lot people saying like, retweet, please retweet this because we're raising money for this. I think that is a perfectly acceptable and awesome thing to do. I'm a big fan of asking questions. Like, you never know unless you ask. If only I could apply that to myself, that would be great. But I'm really good at telling other people to do that. But it's true. So like maybe reaching out to them on Twitter and saying like, we're doing this thing. Like, if you could just retweet it, that would be great. They either will or they won't. You know, and that's either way. You know, you've still done everything that you can. I think that a lot of charities they do facilitate online donations. So in some cases, like for do you guys have a cancer council here?
We have a cancer foundation.
Cancer foundation.
Yeah,
so you can just donate online to them. So there's no reason to kind of reach out to them in advance because you already have all of the resources that you need. Basically, you just like make a little profile and you can just link that out. And then people usually, if you know you've raised some money and you've maybe done it a couple of years or a couple of times, they'll see it and they'll likely reach out to you and say, wow, you've really committed to this. We really appreciate you. Is there anything we can do? So, I mean, yeah, there's different times. It definitely comes down to scale. I totally agree with that. But yeah.
Yeah, but like you were saying, it's like, you know, hey, I just did a stream, so you should send me free stuff. Like, that doesn't work. Like, honestly, I would like, if you're doing giveaways and whatnot, give away stuff that you can produce yourself at first, at least when you get started. Like simple art or like the hoodie, what you're talking about, like things you can do around work, like just locally. After you do a few of them, then you can start kind of reaching out. But I mean, like, don't contact Ubisoft and be like, hi, I'm doing a charity stream. Can you send me free games? It's like to, you know, to give away. It's like, no, not like, have a backlog, have
and
kind of
statistics.
Yeah.
Go with
Yeah.
them saying like, my stream averaged X many unique people over this amount of time. Here's my plan. Like, you should really be able to have the data behind saying like, there has to be there's always a what's in it for me for companies if you've never dealt with them before and they want to know what they're getting out of their thing. Because like, feeling good is great, but businesses are about numbers at the end of the day. So if you can say like, you donating this means I'm going to put an overlay on my stream during this segment and it's going to reach X many unique people. I'm going to put it on these different things. Like, there is a buy-in for them, and having a professional presentation is like 10 times more likely to get you something than just being like, I'm doing a thing, can you help?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, that's this thing is building up a reputation. Honestly, it's like the more you do this stuff, the more people are like, oh yeah, like I watched that stream last year, it was really good, or you know, so forth and so on. And like then more company, like maybe a company will like, oh yeah, we saw you do this last year, we'd love to help support you. And so really make it, you know, focus on yourself first on what you can do personally. Then I would say once you kind of get that under your belt, once you start understanding what you can do, then start opening it up and start asking for help.
And again, that doesn't mean that you have to raise you know, thousands of billions of dollars. Like, it really can just be $50, a few $100, like, especially using the data to show that you, because you almost 100% will have an increase in donations. You know, they can see that, oh, okay, you're committed to this, and it looks like people are paying attention and that you're gaining traction. So, yeah, I think that's really important too.
There's also, it was interesting with the animal shelter that we raised money for, they didn't have an online page to donate, and there was no way for me to thank them. And so I wanted to use Tiltify for that. And Tiltify will reach out to the charity and set all of that up like on behalf of the organization. And it was interesting because they had no idea that people raised money by playing games online. And so I had to sit down and educate them for like 2 hours about like, this is what Twitch is, and it's not a scam, I promise. Like, there are like 100 million people every month that visit this website. I trust you, it's totally legit. So like, we had to educate them on what it was, and then once it happened, they were like, this is so cool, this is awesome, how can we help you? We're gonna name this wing of the animal shelter, like after your community. Like, they got really excited about it, and they saw all these thousands of dollars come in, and it was a learning opportunity for them. And now they're empowered to reach out to other gamers and say like, hey, we exist, do you wanna help us? And like, we can help you by doing these things. And so part of it is the do good on behalf of you as a gamer is not just raising the money and not just doing that, but informing organizations who may not be already informed that people want to help you raise money. And how can we do that? And Tiltify reached out, set it all up for him. She was like, this was so easy. I just had to give him like my EIN number, and then we were done. So it definitely, there's a lot of ways that you can help charities, even if it's not just by streaming or by donating yourself. You can share, you can talk to people, you can give them information, and there's lots of different ways at the end of the day to be able to help. We have 3 minutes left. So do you have any final closing remarks for people? Final thoughts?
Me? You go.
They
both looked at me, so I thought I was going first. I was like,
I would say if you are passionate about something, let that passion out, and people will see it, and they will react to it, and they will, embrace it. So if you are, passionate about saving starfish, great. If your heart is truly behind it, you give it your all, people will recognize that and be willing to help. And so passion is the huge thing that that's what drives me, and Caiti. She drives me, not passion.
Yeah, literally. You're just drunk all the time. I'm just designated driver. No. Sorry, I made such a terrible joke that I forgot what I was going to say. What was I going to say?
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
Passion.
You're right.
we're just joking about Jack being an alcoholic.
You go.
Yeah.
You go, and then I'll go.
Okay, sure. On that note, exactly what Jack said as well, and I mentioned it a bit before, but don't be afraid to reach out to friends, family, peers for assistance.
That was literally what I was going to say.
I stole it
You
via
did,
mind
clearly.
control.
You just like ripped it out of there.
But I think that's huge, and I'll even put myself out there. If you have questions, I am at the T-Rex on Twitter. If you're mindful of my time, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. I'm not the best, but just tweet at me.
You are the best.
I'm okay.
Yeah, you're all right.
I'm all right. I'm okay with all right. Average is fine. But that's huge. You have a support structure. You are welcome to use it. And I highly recommend it too. You don't have to do everything alone. As someone who streamed alone in a room for many years now, you don't always have to do everything yourself. It's okay to help, to get assistance and to delegate and to do something even better than what you can do by yourself.
Yeah, I 100% am behind that. I think my biggest thing would be literally getting a notepad and a pen and just figuring out, we kept talking about resources, but I'll say it again, what your resources are, because you want to set yourself up for success so that you can be successful for whatever the charity is that you're raising money. Like, passion is pivotal, it's very important to choose something that you are really passionate about, and that you may not even have a personal stake in it, but just something that means a lot to you. I think is really important. And using your family on Facebook, your friends on Facebook, and having that immediate access to people is really super important. But having down everything on a piece of paper, tangibly, like right in front of you, that says, I have this much free time on this day, so I'm going to stream for 6 hours. My friend's going to come over for this amount of time. That'd be cool. I can do the corkboard thing. I have a hoodie I can draw on. Like, just figuring it all out is just going to set you up for success, and setting attainable goals as well for raising money. It will set you up for success, and therefore you can be successful for the charity of your choice, and then everybody wins. So I think that's really important.
And on that note, I would just like to say thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you guys for hosting the panel. Thank you guys so much for raising millions of dollars for charity every year, making gamers look like one of the best groups of people out there. And thanks for all the charities who let us raise money for you.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Nice job. Now we just awkwardly sit here.
So yeah, I guess one last piece of advice: watch this again. That's the camera. I'm pointing to it. Pay attention better.
I had a high five and you left me hands
There we go.
for so long.
On VODs.
on VODs. It better be on a
Search for
VOD.
it. Oh, it is.
I'm so sweaty.
My back. I'm an old man. 25, an old man. You got no room to talk. Hey, man. Hey.